First of all, good afternoon. I don't know if my internet is as it should be. I'm out here on a lunch break enjoying some sun, a little fun in the sun, a little lake view. Let's see here. You guys get in here before we start our conversation. Let you guys get in here before we start our conversation. Okay. First of all, if you can hear the sound of my voice, put a one in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Put a one in the chat. Let's talk. Put a one in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. Just type that one in the comment section. So audio is good. Put a one in the comment section so I know my audio is good. Put a one in the conversation. All right. Okay, we're getting in there. Let's go. Let's turn this thing up. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta have a conversation. I tend to stay away from anything involving Nicki, and I do that intentionally. However, we gotta have a conversation here. We gotta have a conversation here. And probably by now, a lot of you have seen the video that has surfaced on the internet of Kenneth Petty's 29-year-old interrogation video. It's 29 years old. It's an interrogation video that was done by the Queens District Attorney's Office. And I want to say that was probably under the tutelage of Robert Brown. I think that was the DA at the time. It might not be him, but they had a few DAs in Queens. Probably maybe four over the span of that period of time. But okay, it's a lot to unpack here. So I watched the entire. I watched it. The first thing that stood out for me was that his was in the room. Mr. Petty was in the. Mr. Petty didn't bring a lawyer. He was in the room, and there was a uniformed cop in the room with the district attorney and Mr. Petty, as well as the Queen's assistant DA, the ADA. That's the first thing I noticed. They Mirandized him. He read his rights, confirmed he read his rights. Now, the ADA was very thorough. She confirmed that he was Mirandized. She referenced what he had signed, his waiver of his rights to remain silent, and his dad was there. Why is that significant? We learned from the Central Park 5 case, that was a Manhattan case, a New York County case, that parents back then were walking their children into police stations to cooperate with the authorities. Those who had intention on making a case against their loved ones. That's the first thing I noticed. Now, before we get into the substance of the interrogation, let's remind ourselves that we have the right to remain silent, and in most cases, we should do that when we have an attorney. Or in this case, it sounded like he might have been indigent at the time, and his family didn't have any guidance. But you have this black man that was in the interrogation room, his father. And maybe he was able to sell the story to his father of what happened, and they felt confident they can sell it to the district attorney. Now, again, he's been convicted. His case has been adjudicated. It's 29 years ago. What people are honing in on now is the connection with Nicki. And I say the connection because apparently she spoke out against the girl, the victim who who was his accuser, who ultimately got to justice or some justice in this matter. And from what I learned was that she hadn't even sparked up the situation at 29 years, that happened 29 years ago to her. And it according to what I've seen floating on social, this came about because of perhaps some fans of maybe another rapper might have dug stuff up, but it wasn't. And I'll say a name because the name is out there, Jennifer Hugh. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. So let's talk about this interrogation video. And remember, this is you can't forget this. They ultimately got a conviction by way of a plea agreement. So he took a plea. He pled out to the case. He pled out to the case. And some people say, why does it matter now? He pled out to the case 29 years ago. Um, well, because this happened pre Me Too movement, and people are hyper active when it comes to stuff like this, especially now that he is married to a high profile celebrity, a superstar, a megastar in hip hop. And now all the ops from different camps are chiming in on what happened back then. Let that sink in. Many people are chiming in on what happened back then. I looked at the video. There was a lot of things that didn't fly. And again, he ultimately took a plea in that situation. People hone in on now when social media wasn't around back then, and the fact that this came out, I'm assuming this came out as a result of the civil proceeding that's happening. Someone leaked this out because the Manhattan DA typically don't leak stuff like this. So this came out, or the Queens DA leaked this. I won't say they leaked it, but they don't release stuff like this normally, unless powers that be made the request and they honored the request. Um, so people are looking at the fact that his story didn't add up back then. It didn't add up, uh, and apparently he's not taking full responsibility now. And I say that to say that because there's been some denial as to whether there was a case or not. And then also there was a report by some who said that the girl was not a black girl. She was not a black girl. She was a white girl, just going after him. Well, growing up in New York, knowing that area very well, uh, it was clear that the victim wasn't a white girl, but someone that he knew. And apparently she was 14, he was 16. So I guess the biggest discrepancy or lie that came out of that was when he was being questioned by the DA, she asked him something to the effect, did he lie? Was he telling the truth? He understands what the significance was of telling the cop he was 14 versus 16. Well, 14 you're treated as a juvenile. 16 you're treated as an adult back then. So I don't know why that was for someone that's innocent. Why would they lie about their age? Because they're going to find out your age no matter what. And at the time, apparently, he had some priors. And those priors would have yielded the information that the cop wanted in the first place. So I don't understand why he lied about that. But that's 29 years old. 29 years ago, he was probably scared, and I'm making no excuses for the guy. But I don't. It does seem like even back then he sounds pretty. He sound pretty smart. Like I'm not saying he's like a genius or anything like that. I'm just saying that he understood the questions that was being asked of him. And again, the prosecutor, who ultimately prosecuted the case, pretty much got him into the corner she wanted him in the corner. She asked him the relevant questions. What I didn't understand was the eye drops. What was that about? Why was the eye drops in the room? Was she was she put under some kind of was she drugged? Did she get knocked out? What was that all about? And then the knife, the very big knife. That knife was a 6-inch knife, and it was in his bedroom. He said that she never came to his bedroom. Well, the evidence shows otherwise. He said he had sex with her a year earlier, which would have made her 13. Still illegal. Correct me if I'm wrong. He would have been 15 and she would have been 13. So that was a problem already. Now we're talking about Kenneth Petty, and we're not talking about who I'm voting for. We ain't doing that. So here's the problem. Um, he probably should have kept his mouth shut after his case has been adjudicated. He talked too much, and now people are going to look at that incident 29 years ago like it's today. Coupled with the fact that he also had a manslaughter charge years later. So, it's a lot of things going on in this update with the release of this this video. And what I noticed yesterday on my timeline, I saw a series of pictures. I don't know how it popped up on my timeline, but Nicki popped up on my timeline, and there was pictures of her and Kenneth in different settings. So I don't know if it was his birthday or something, but it came out yesterday, and then lo and behold, this other stuff dropped. So I don't know if that was just timing or that was a message to the community that no matter what, she's standing by her man. That's what I got from that. That's what I got from that. But I think that Kenneth Petty should not speak anymore on this subject, because every time he speaks on this subject, I'm sure that the his victim is feeling a certain way. I don't think she should speak on it. If it's a case of being litigated in court, but I don't think she should be speaking on it at this point to the public. Um, I just think that it's hurting her. It's hurting Nicki's brand. And when people say, "Why is it hurting Nicki?" Well, that's her husband. She's married. She's married to him. It's hurting her brand every time he speaks on it or does anything that will appear to be uh, attacking the victim. So I don't know. Again, he was 29. It was 29 years ago. He was 16 at the time. Um, but the knife in the room and the eye drops, that is scary. You know, that's scary. Knife in the room and the eye drop, big knife. I don't know what was going on back then, but I ain't never had a knife in my bedroom. And in the kitchen, in the kitchen drawer. Back then, we put our knives in the drawer. Now we got our knives in the knife holder. But yeah, I just think it's probably not a good time for this guy to be talking about this situation. But people are not forgiving. I've seen some posts where they're breaking down this case, although again the case has been adjudicated, but they're still breaking the case down. Um, I saw some YouTubers talking about it yesterday, um, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just think that they need to move past this and not, you know, whatever they need. Apparently the victim is suing now because uh, of some things that Nicki said. You know, so it's interesting that this case is still can go. Based on the New York law, they can bring this case up civilly. You know, um, they need to just settle this situation and just leave it at that. I don't know. You guys have a better solution. I don't know, but at this point, I just think that he personally should not be talking about this case anymore. He took a plea. There must have been enough evidence to convict, uh, and that's what it is. He didn't go to trial. He didn't fight it. So if he didn't fight it in the courtroom with a jury of 12, he should not be trying to fight it with the jury of unlimited amount of people. He should just shut up and let the thing work itself out at this point. I don't know if my internet's acting up because I'm out here in the boondocks. Trump or Kamala? Oh my goodness. I'll tell you November 5th who I voted for. I'll tell you on November 5th. I'll let you guys know on November 5th. Look at that. Look at that view. Look at that freaking view. Look at that view. Probably gonna I should do a Labor Day event out here. As a matter of fact, I should do that. Let's do a Labor Day event out here. Maybe do that. Let me see. I gotta get in the shade. I need to cut some of these trees down. Oh my God. I might have to bring my hacksaw out here, cut some of these trees down. Make some firewood. Get ready for the winter. All right, guys. I gotta listen to the playback. Till next time, we out.